Are you an ADHDer who feels like you have this tendency to torpedo your relationships, but it always ends up confusing you? Like, why did I end up here again? That ADHD tendency to be drawn to the new, attractive thing, something new, something novel, and that actually translates over to your relationships as well. But you've always just ended up with this feeling of something's not quite right here. Like, it's not that I don't love my partner. So today we're going to look at what this might be for you and what we can do about it. Most importantly, what can you do to maintain the relationships you know that you truly want to be in. So what we're actually talking about today is limerence, and it's not actually something that I see get raised that much at all, and this applies to both ADHD and autistic people as well, actually. And let's start with what it isn't. So limerence is not actually love. It's almost like a pseudo love, but it comes out as almost like an obsession. It's like you have a person as a special interest, and it does actually look different to love. It comes out as obsession. You're kind of internet stalking them, finding out all this information about them, rereading messages, thinking about them in all your free time, and it's obsessive. It's not love. Like, love is more balanced and two-way than this, and it's also really often based in fantasies. Like, it is not based in the truth, because sometimes you might not even know this person that well, but you become absolutely besotted and obsessed with them. And I've heard quite a lot of times, actually, this can lead to people being so convinced that this is actually love that they either cheat on their current partner or they leave them altogether. And oftentimes, by the time that's happened, they've realised that, oh, I'm not in love with this person. It's just this kind of fleeting obsession. Now, obviously, this is hard for both people in the committed actual relationship, but we're just focusing here today on the person who experiences this limerence, and for them, when they sort of recognise this pattern, it can lead to this kind of constant discomfort and worry and anxiety, feeling on edge in the relationship, because when is this next person going to come along that catches their interest in that way, that sparks this limerence? And again, not love, but limerence. And then this is really important to distinguish the two, because it's an entirely different mental, neurological process to love. Now, this can create quite a lot of shame in the person experiencing it, because they go through this process maybe a few times, and you carry that through with you, the knowledge of the pain that you've caused. And naturally you take that upon yourself and blame yourself for being a bad person or unfaithful or something like that, when actually it's not quite as simple as that. Now, obviously, I'm not making excuses for people cheating. That's no good in any situation. But what I'm trying to do is give an explanation of what it could be that's happening, so that you can know what is going on and then act to compensate for it. So what do we actually do about this? If we take as a starter that shame that it can cause in the neurodivergent person who's experiencing this limerence, before actually addressing any of this with a partner in the relationship you might be in, knowing in yourself what is going on for you. So knowing that you're not just some person who doesn't want to be faithful to your partner or to anyone, and to know that this isn't a character or moral failing on your part. This is just part and parcel of your neurodivergence. That can start the ball rolling on your path to both coming to terms with what that is for you. So my first bit of advice for this is admittedly kind of a sensitive one, because this is not something that gets talked about a lot. It is not something that a lot of people understand, and talking to your partner about this might understandably be pretty delicate. Nonetheless, once you understand what's going on, and if you feel that it is appropriate to do this, addressing it with your partner so that they know in advance, when this limerence process isn't actually going on, that this is part of your ADHD or part of your autism, and you don't want it to happen, but you're aware that it can happen, and then you can set an action plan for, well, what are we going to do with this? How can they support you? And how can you make sure that that doesn't run away with you? So one part of that plan might be breaking it down to what is actually going on. What are the needs that is meeting? So that's novelty, finding an object for obsession, dopamine, validation, escape. When you know what you actually need, which is not the other person, then you can get those needs met in your actual relationship or just in your life elsewhere. You can then start to deconstruct the fantasy, because limerence is based often on this fantasy. Oftentimes you don't really know the person that well. It's just someone new at the office or someone who works at the cafe you go to. So deconstruct that fantasy. Or what do you actually know about them? What is it giving you? And what parts of this are you actually imagining? I'd guess that a lot of this would be pure imagination. You might be imagining their feelings towards you. You might be imagining a whole scenario. You might be imagining that there was some deeper meaning to something that they said, which was actually totally casual and not romantic at all. And obviously, whilst you're doing all of this, keep in mind that whilst you're working on yourself, whilst you're working on a part of your neurodivergence, you will inevitably need to take into consideration the feelings of your partner. So whilst you're analysing yourself and being aware of what's going on for you, definitely make time to speak to your partner and find out how they are feeling throughout all of this. Do they have needs which they need to get met? At the end of the day, there is a fundamental difference between these two things, because limerence is intense but really shallow. And love, actual love in a committed long-term relationship, is much less intense, but it's much deeper. And remember that limerence feels good because it is intense, not because it's true. So when you start to do all of this, you start to open up an honest conversation with your partner about it. You start deconstructing the fantasy and labeling what is going on, asking yourself which bits of this are fantasy, what am I imagining? Then you're on the road to building a solid foundation that will allow you to have a fulfilling long-term relationship with someone without that getting derailed by the possibility of limerence. So let me know in the comments, what do you think? Have you ever experienced limerence? And how did you come through it? Let me know, I'm interested. I'll see you in the next video.